Every great story begins with a moment that changes everything. Today, we dive into the life of a man who thought he knew his world inside out. A man who built an empire from scratch, only to discover that the truth can sometimes be hidden in the most unexpected places. This is a story of courage, revelation, and the power of human connection. Sit back, and let's unravel the tale of an undercover owner who walked into his own company, not as the boss, but as just another face in the crowd. What he heard that day would change his life forever. Elliot Grayson was not your typical millionaire. At 42, he had built one of the most successful tech companies in the country, Grayson Innovations. The company was known for its cutting-edge software solutions and a work culture that many envied. But Elliot was not one to rest on his laurels. He believed in staying connected to his roots, to the people who made his dream a reality. Elliot was a man of principles. He valued honesty, hard work, and integrity above all else. But lately, something had been bothering him. He had started to feel disconnected from his employees. The company had grown so large that he no longer knew everyone by name. Reports and numbers were all he saw, and he missed the human touch. He missed the stories, the struggles, and the dreams of the people who worked for him. One evening, as he sat in his luxurious office overlooking the city, Elliot made a decision. He would go undercover. He would apply for a job at his own company, not as the CEO, but as an ordinary employee. He wanted to see the world through their eyes, to understand their challenges, and to reconnect with the heart of his company. Elliot spent the next few days preparing for his new role. He changed his appearance, cutting his hair short and dressing in simple, casual clothes. He even practiced speaking in a slightly different tone to avoid being recognized. He applied for a mid-level position in the marketing department under the name Evan Grant. The day of the interview arrived. Elliot walked into the office building, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervousness. He was greeted by the receptionist, a young man named Tyler, who directed him to the waiting area. As he sat there, he couldn't help but notice the atmosphere. The office was buzzing with activity, but there was an underlying tension that he hadn't noticed before. Finally, it was his turn. He was called into the interview room by a man named Derek, the head of the marketing department. Derek was in his late 30s, with a sharp mind and a no-nonsense attitude. The interview began, and Elliot answered the questions with ease, drawing from his vast experience while maintaining his cover. As the interview progressed, Derek seemed impressed. "You've got a great resume, Evan," he said. "But tell me, why do you want to work here?" Elliot paused for a moment, then replied, "I've always admired Grayson Innovations. The company's values, the work culture, it's something I want to be a part of. I believe in making a difference, and I think this is the place where I can do that." Derek nodded, a hint of a smile on his face. "Well, Evan, I think you'll fit right in. Welcome to the team." Elliot's first day as Evan was an eye-opener. He was introduced to his new colleagues, a group of hard-working individuals who welcomed him with open arms. There was Mike, the team lead, who had a knack for motivating everyone, Chris, the creative genius, and Alex, the quiet but incredibly efficient data analyst. As the days went by, Elliot began to see the company in a new light. He noticed the long hours his employees put in, the dedication they showed, and the passion they had for their work. But he also noticed the cracks, the stress, the pressure, and the lack of communication between departments. One afternoon, as he was working on a project, he overheard a conversation between Mike and Chris. They were discussing a new product launch, and the tension in their voices was palpable. "I don't know how we're going to meet the deadline," Mike said, frustration evident in his voice. "The higher-ups keep piling on the work, but they don't understand what it takes to get this done."
Chris sighed.
"I know, man. It's like they're in their own world, completely disconnected from what's happening on the ground. If only they knew." Elliot's heart sank. He had always prided himself on being a hands-on CEO, but now he realized that he had become just another higher-up, disconnected from the very people who made his company successful. A few weeks into his new role, Elliot was invited to a team meeting. The agenda was to discuss the upcoming product launch, and the atmosphere was tense. As the meeting progressed, it became clear that the team was struggling to meet the deadline. The pressure was mounting, and tempers were flaring. In the midst of the chaos, Elliot noticed something that stopped him cold. Two employees, Alex and Chris, were having a heated discussion in the corner of the room. Their voices were low, but the intensity in their words was unmistakable. "Do you think they even care about us?" Alex asked, his voice trembling with emotion. "We're killing ourselves to meet these deadlines, but do they even notice? Do they even care?" Chris shook his head, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and sadness.
"I don't know, man.
Sometimes it feels like we're just numbers to them. They don't see the sacrifices we make, the late nights, the missed family time. They don't see us as people." Elliot felt a lump in his throat. He had always believed that he was doing right by his employees, but now he realized how wrong he had been. He had become so focused on the big picture that he had forgotten the individuals who made it all possible. That night, Elliot couldn't sleep. The words of Alex and Chris echoed in his mind, and he knew he had to do something. He couldn't continue to run his company the way he had been. He needed to make a change, not just for the sake of his employees, but for the soul of his company. The next day, Elliot called for an all-hands meeting. The employees gathered in the conference room, curious about the sudden announcement. Elliot stood at the front of the room, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've called this meeting because I need to share something with you. Something that has been weighing heavily on my heart." He paused, taking a deep breath. "For the past few weeks, I've been working among you, not as your CEO, but as one of you. I wanted to see the world through your eyes, to understand your challenges, and to reconnect with the heart of this company." The room fell silent, the employees staring at him in shock. Elliot continued, his voice filled with sincerity. "What I've seen has humbled me. I've seen your dedication, your passion, and your hard work. But I've also seen your struggles, your stress, and your pain. And I realize now that I've failed you." He looked around the room, his eyes meeting those of his employees. "I've become so focused on the big picture that I've forgotten the individuals who make it all possible. I've forgotten that you are not just employees. You are the heart and soul of this company. And for that, I am truly sorry." The room was filled with a mix of emotions, shock, relief, and even a few tears. Elliot took a deep breath, his voice filled with determination. "But today, I promise you that things will change. I will be more involved, more connected, and more aware of your needs. Together, we will build a company that not only succeeds but also cares for the people who make it all possible." The days that followed were a turning point for Grayson Innovations. Elliot made it a point to be more involved in the day-to-day operations, to listen to his employees, and to address their concerns. He implemented new policies to reduce stress and improve work-life balance, and he made sure that every employee felt valued and appreciated. The change was palpable. The atmosphere in the office became more positive, and the employees felt a renewed sense of purpose. They knew that their CEO was not just a figurehead, but a leader who truly cared about them. As for Elliot, he felt a sense of fulfillment that he hadn't felt in years. He had reconnected with the heart of his company, and in doing so, he had rediscovered his own passion and purpose. Months passed, and Grayson Innovations continued to thrive. The company's success was not just measured in numbers, but in the happiness and satisfaction of its employees. Elliot had become a true leader, one who led with empathy and compassion. One evening, as Elliot was leaving the office, he ran into Alex and Chris in the parking lot. They were laughing and chatting, their bond stronger than ever. Elliot approached them, a smile on his face. "Hey guys," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "I just wanted to thank you." Alex and Chris looked at him, surprised. "Thank us? For what?" Alex asked. Elliot's eyes were filled with gratitude. "For opening my eyes. For showing me what really matters. You guys are the heart of this company, and I'm grateful for everything you do." Chris smiled, his eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you, Elliot. That means a lot." As Elliot drove home that night, he felt a sense of peace. He had learned that true success is not just about building a company, but about building a community. a community of people who care for each other, who support each other, and who strive to make a difference together. And in that moment, Elliot knew that he had found his true purpose. And so, the story of Elliot Grayson comes to a close. A man who thought he had it all, only to discover that the greatest treasure lies in the hearts of those around him. His journey reminds us that true success is not measured by wealth or power, but by the impact we have on the lives of others. Let this story be a reminder to us all to stay connected, to care deeply, and to never forget the people who make our dreams possible. Until next time, remember, the greatest stories are the ones that touch our hearts.